Hello, and welcome to Fauxropter. I'm filling in for John Dutton this week. My name's Bobby Gaucher.
And guess what? I'm John Dutton, and I'm filling in for Bobby Gaucher.
Nailed it. Welcome to a new episode of Fauxropter. This week's word will be...
begging. So, Bobby.
Yeah.
Begging is a term that you don't hear very often unless you've been listening to that song by Maneskin. Is that how you say their name?
I guess so. I know it by Madcon or by Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons.
But if you read, Dickens or something...
I don't.
I do, and there's a lot of begging going on.
Mm-hmm.
An example of begging from the last century would have been, let's say, during the Great Depression, you would see people holding up signs saying, "We'll work for food," right? So that's a kind of begging way. You're not just like holding out your hand or a cup or something, hoping that somebody puts some coins in it. You're saying you're that desperate that you will just work for food. So that's a different kind of begging. But that kind of begging led me to think that maybe begging still goes on today, even though it's somehow a gauche or something to use the word begging, in the realm of online influencers.
I love this idea.
Who literally work for food, or for clothes, or jewelry, or... Trips, exactly. It seems to me that if you've ended up in Dubai or somewhere like that, and you are getting your trip paid for to say nice things about
Dubai Air,
the place, or things that you happen to be enjoying in Dubai, like you've rented a Ferrari or something. I don't know what people do. I don't really get these videos on my feed, actually, to be honest with you, but I've seen them. When you are sort of trying to get into that biz of being an online influencer,
the biz of selling yourself.
Yeah, and I mean, lots of people sell themselves, but you're kind of begging. Like, you're saying, please give me X in return for my work. You will work for food.
Yeah. Especially
the influencers who literally work for food, who go in, restaurants and try to get, like, the free meal and stuff. But they're not getting a free meal in the sense that they have to do quite a bit of work.
Oh, they're doing a lot of work for it.
Right. And it's not me who's revealing anything now to say that online influencers work hard, but they do. And
so what I find interesting about this when you brought the idea up is the idea that beggars can't be choosers. And you still see that in an influencer online context, because a lot of the time to maintain a status, you kind of have to do really crappy promotions in the beginning.
Right.
So you have these very gauche Instagram posts of things that you're like, oh, why are they promoting that? And it's because there's tiers of promotion. To be able to promote, like right now, I'm trying to think what the Kardashians are promoting. But about 10 years ago on their Instagram, they were promoting like crappy diet drinks and like the shake weight and different shapewear. Fashion Nova used to be a big thing that you kind of have to promote all of these smaller, not glorified brands to be able to promote Louis Vuitton.
Is that who they're promoting now?
No.
Okay.
He would want nothing to do with them.
Oh, I've no idea about that world. But they would like to?
Yeah. So that's what I find interesting about this influencer context is even though you get to have this very cool and glamorous life, you have to beg for it. You have to work for it. And you don't get to choose what you promote.
Right.
These giant brands or companies still choose you.
Yeah, exactly. So what you are doing on your, say, Instagram page, and I assume this happens on TikTok as well.
Any platform.
Is you are putting a video or picture of yourself up there, holding up a sign saying, "We'll work for food."
Will work for name brands.
Right. Like it's just the 21st century version of that cardboard sign that you've handwritten, but you managed to do it on a digital platform where you don't feel ashamed about it because everybody else is doing it too, which guess what? That was the case also in the 1920s when there was the Great Depression. Is like, I guess there was enough people doing it that people, like, they might have felt
there's no shame behind begging in a lot of contexts.
I look, if you have no choice to feed your family or something, I agree. But also, it's completely understandable that people feel shame when they beg. Like, they have to just beg for money. Which isn't the same thing as begging for, like, mercy or something if you're going to be killed by terrorists or something like that.
I think begging might be more noble than it can be perceived. Because a lot of the time, I think it looks shameful to beg. But I think the actual action of begging is pretty noble. You're doing what you have to do.
I completely agree. I absolutely do agree that the vast majority of people who beg in the world, and you only have to go to, downtown of a North American city or wherever in a different country where there are people who are impoverished to see people literally just sort of begging on the street, right? And you feel bad if you're walking by because you have a job or you're a tourist or whatever it is. To know that, like, it's not a scam or something. Like,
no, it's hard work.
It's hard work, and they have no other option.
Yeah, and I don't think you have to be ashamed if you're begging. I think because of the intensity of the work, it's more of a noble job than you would think.
Right. But to come back to the influencers, do we think that is somehow equivalent then, or less noble, or what?
I would think it's less noble, but they're not ashamed of it.
Mm-hmm. Clearly.
So I think it's kind of funny that to compare the two, it would make any influencer probably shrivel in their skin to think of it on the same plane. But it's very interesting to put them together.
It's interesting that you brought up the idea of status, though, because if you take this to more extremes, begging for your life means that the other person has complete power over you. They have a dominance status, right, compared to you because they have, for whatever reason, your life in their hands. So then begging is, I'm just thinking this through. Like, does it mean that you are agreeing with that? Is it more shameful?
Well, if you're begging for followers so that you can get to a status where you have power, like, it's interesting that you brought up where the power lies. Because kind of any sort of begging, you don't have very much power. You're asking for it. So in any context where you're begging, no matter the status or class, you're asking somebody else for a little bit of their power to make you more powerful.
Yes. I'm just asking your opinion, though, about if you were literally begging for your life. If somebody's like, they're going to execute you, they're a terrorist, and they capture you.
What did I do? I was kidnapped?
You were just kidnapped or something like that.
That's my
maybe it wasn't even terrorists. You were just kidnapped for money, like this would happen this still happens today in certain places, right?
It's my biggest fear.
Okay. And then they say, well, your family didn't pay up or whatever, like, we're going to kill you. Right, exactly. And the kidnappers, in Colombia or somewhere assumed
They're in Colombia? Oh, no.
Yeah. They assumed that your family had money just because you're white, right? And what are you going to do then? Like, would you feel ashamed to beg for your life is what I'm saying?
Oh.
Or would you try to be super stoic and noble?
I would never try and be stoic and noble. I would beg until the cows came home.
Right.
I also think if I was kidnapped, this is minorly off topic, if I was kidnapped, I would be so annoying that they would probably just get rid of me. Because I would beg nonstop and constantly and talk about everything that was going on in my life and why it's a bad thing. And if they keep holding on to me, they're not going to get anything out of it. They're just going to get stuck with me and I'll just talk nonstop.
When you say get rid of you, though, there are two ways of doing that. Okay, listeners, Bobby just did the universal symbol for decapitation. What was that? Wait, is that decapitation or getting your throat slit?
Either or.
Oh, okay. Could go either way. All right.
Either way, I'm dead.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right. Have we covered begging then?
I believe so.
I feel like we talked about this much more than I expected to.
I know. It was an interesting word that I didn't think we'd have much to say.
What I do know is that the listeners are begging us to stop right now.
Or they're begging for more.
Or that. Yeah, you never know. Well, actually, do let us know. Send us an email to fauxropter@gmail.com if you are in fact begging for more episodes, and let us know if there's words that you'd like us to cover.
I hope you have a great rest of your day or evening, and we'll hear from you soon.
And you'll definitely hear from us soon. So take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.